Hi guys, in this video we're going to be starting off with a quote that a French philosopher Montesquieu once made in the 16th century, and that is, how can a God who is so wise put a soul, rather an immortal soul, entirely into a black body? And no God who's so wise would be able to do that, because black people cannot even be qualified as human beings. Now we have to note that this was actually told by a philosopher who has realized the distinction between God and the Supreme, who has understood that the soul is immortal, and yet he sees that there are racial distinctions and societal discriminations to which a person can worship, or more importantly, a person can be in union with a higher power in nature. Now, this is also present in the Hindu tradition of ancient times, where we can all agree that ancient India was one of the most oldest civilizations in the world and was very futuristic at that. And during that time, Hindus had often felt that non-Hindus are really barbarians because they did not have the same mental stability that Hindus had. This is also common during the time of ancient Greece, where they felt that foreigners are nothing but barbarians because they do not have the wisdom that we Greeks possess. Yes, it is true that they have 2 eyes, 2 ears, two hands and 2 legs, a nose, everything is fine, but they don't have the thinking capacity that a real human being should have. So here we are discriminating people based on size, based on shape, based on their color, and just basically we are discriminating based on their physical appearance. And that's where verses 4 to 19 from chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita come into play. Here Krishna asks a question. Now, there are many people in the world who worship a god. So the question here that Krishna is posing is, now all of you guys are one. You're all united by the name that you're all human beings. So the way you treat your fellow human beings is how you would view the higher power in nature as well. And the reason he says this is because you guys feel that if someone is short or tall, they have a certain need. You guys feel if someone is white or black, there is a certain need. So all these discriminations is the same way how you would view a higher power. You would say only certain people can worship certain gods and certain people cannot worship certain gods. And all these distinctions are not made by the higher power, but just us who are on the lower end of this giant fulcrum known as nature itself. So the moment we come out of this physical appearance to rule our entire life, that is when we start to see what is inside every person. Because according to the Bhagavad Gita, when you're born as a human being, you're born with a divine nature within. That is for everyone across the globe. But the problem is we give too much preference to the physical appearance, and much like I said in my earlier videos as well, even when we worship God, there is no point in looking at the physical appearance of God, such as this idol that you can see here, but it has to be something to understand what is truly mentioned from that particular person and what is within that than just the outward appearance. Now, the reason that the Bhagavad Gita stresses on this point is because when we take a look at a certain deity, it has a certain form, and every form denotes something. Now, if some forms are attractive, we generally have too many people that are going towards it, and if some forms are not attractive and it is very harsh and violent in nature, we don't have much of an importance or go towards or get attracted to that form. Look at the image of Krishna that people have created, or rather sculpted as an idol. He's very happy, he's always jovial and always like a kid at heart. This kind of image would always be appealing to the mass audience, where they can completely be satisfied with the image of Krishna, who is always very quiet, calm, childish and playful. But on the same day, if Krishna is someone with an angry wrath and sees that the evil is going through his teeth and mouth and a very angry and rampant image is created, the following for that particular deity would not be as high, because throughout all the works and beliefs is done and given only to the physical form of the person and not within and what is mentioned throughout one person's life and teachings. That is why we have God worship, and then also we have Satan worship. All these things are just based on what one form can denote to an individual. And in both places, whether we say it is God or whether we say it is Satan, it is all denoted by sacrifices, which we say that these sacrifices are enjoyed by God. But the question is, if God really does enjoy anything, then that is not a God, because anyone who enjoys is human, because they have the highest form of one particular emotion and they are not stable. Both Satan as well as God worship is done through our ego consciousness that is channeled, and we live in the land, as Sanskrit says, asat, which is unreal. But the Bhagavad Gita tries to persuade us to go into the land of Sat, which is real, where we can see who the real Supreme Lord really is. And that is why the Bhagavad Gita says that in Brahman, which is the eternal pervader of this entire universe, there are two distinct types. One is Brahman through speech, where we chant the hymns, we chant the mantras, we chant all the Vedas and Bhagavad Gita through our mouth, and over a period of time, as we keep chanting, it gets registered and we are by heart about that mantra. But the second Brahman is about going beyond these mantras. See, when we have understood something, we don't really need a book to read it, because it is stored in our subconscious. And that is the same Brahman that the Bhagavad Gita persuades us to try and instill what is already present in our human body. Now that's a wrap for this particular episode, where we cover verses 4 to 19 in chapter 9. And I would see you guys in the next video where we conclude this chapter. And until then, it is goodbye. And as always, thank you for watching.